A minute. Okay, good morning again, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar with Henry, Nii Dottey. I love the branding already, Henry, very nice. Today we're going to have an interesting conversation with Henry. I met, like most of you that have joined our webinars, you know that I usually find our speakers or stalk our speakers on LinkedIn, and I found Henry and I just thought, wow, this person's profile is really exceptional and it will be nice to get to know him. So I'll just briefly read his profile. Henry is a communications and marketing professional with nearly 20 years working experience in communications and marketing. He's currently working with United Bank for Africa, Ghana, which is UBA, as the head of marketing and corporate communications. He's a trained journalist, public relations, and marketing practitioner with experience in journalism, public relations, corporate communications, marketing, branding, wow, across various private enterprises and mainstream government departments. He's also currently the Vice President of the Institute of Public Relations Ghana, having previously served as a Deputy Honorary Secretary between 2010 and 2012. Welcome again, Henry. Thank you for joining us today. We're so glad that you're here, and we're so glad to learn from you. Okay, so I'm just going to kick off. I've noticed a number of communications professionals, they start off from journalism and then they pivot. So how was that transition for you? What made you to just do that transition, and how did you go about it? Henry, oh, your mic is muted. Let me see.
Yes, okay. So thank you very much. So you're right. I started off pretty early, and it's been a good journey. I would like to thank God. Like you mentioned, I've been in mainstream private and government organizations, having done insurance, banking, tax administration, been in academia, and then mainstream media. It's not been very easy. It's not been rosy. There are ups and downs, but through it all, we're grateful to God for how far He's brought us. So to your question on how I was able to transit from journalism to public relations or to communications, as we would say, I actually classify communications to be inclusive of journalism, and it only helps you to give you the necessary legs to help you to also move into other areas of communications practice. But I'd like to thank Mr. Samalata Mensah, who is the CEO of City FM and City TV here in Accra, Ghana, who gave me the opportunity right after journalism school to apply my trade with City FM. It was a very short stint at the onset. I further got opportunities to do election reporting and do other things with the channel. And I'm very proud of my beginning from City FM. But right from then, I started early, went back to school, and then so when I had to do my national service, I got the opportunity to be posted to the Value Added Tax Service. And thanks to the commissioner then at the time, Joseph Blankson, who was commissioner, and my immediate boss, Victor.
Okay, I think is Henry back now?
Thank you. So at the time I was going to a university, law had been made a postgraduate program, so you could not study law at the first degree. So I actually went to the University of Ghana, Legon, where I was reading political science, history, classical history, and then drama and theater arts. 6 weeks into my study at the University of Ghana, I got admission to the Ghana Institute of Journalism, which is the premier communications and journalism training institution in West Africa. And I didn't think twice about it. I stopped my program at the University of Ghana and jumped onto the Ghana Institute of Journalism to pursue a first degree in BA Communication Studies, and therefore, and majored in public relations practice. So even though I took some journalism courses while studying undergrad, my focus area was on public relations and advertising. And therefore, moving from CTFM, where I started off my communications practice, to VAT, where I started my comms practice, was not difficult at all because I had the background or the basis fundamental in training. And we were taught by some of the outstanding personalities in comms practice in Ghana today, the likes of George Sapon and the National Media Commission, and a couple of others who gave us the dream. So Victor Ampa gave me my very first steps in public relations as a technician, and we've never looked back since.
Wow, thank you very much. So I want to deep dive into your first role in public relations, because I know you've done public relations, marketing, communications. How was that for you? Was it difficult to start out, and how did you deal with that transition? Okay,
so my first role in public relations was the role I took up at the Value Added Tax Service. Now, at the Value Added Tax Service, where I got in, the Value Added Tax Service is now the Ghana Revenue Authority since the integration of the revenue agencies. It was a bit challenging on set. I'd gone in there, and I worked with Tapa, who is a perfectionist. So whatever you do, you think you've given your best shot at a project or a task that he assigns to you, but he will find something wrong. And for me, that was the real classroom work, because we had gotten the academic knowledge from the classroom, we'd done the things, but it was your first attempt at now putting into practice what you had learned. And so for me, that was the real classroom work. Victor Ampa harnessed my writing skills. That was what I learned really how to write, because every week I had to do business writing things that we had learned in school, but writing out memos, doing letters, and working on our internal newsletter, and which is what developed my writing skills a lot. And it was very challenging because when you write, you do your first draft and it goes for editing and comes back, you wonder whether you did anything at all. But for me, like I said, as a learning curve, I was serious and ready to learn and to apply myself. Again, at the period where I started off, there were other senior practitioners, but were not located at the head office. Therefore, being able to manage and coordinate activities of senior colleagues who are located in regional or other offices, you being at the head office as a junior, was again a little practical difficulty that I had to deal with. I remember a time when my supervisor then, Mr. Ampa, had traveled out for a meeting in Uganda. We had been faced with a near crisis situation where there was a reportage in the media about some stories had been carried about the organization. So I remember the commissioner calling me to say that let's do a rejoinder to this story because what they've said in the story is not correct. And I remember telling the commissioner that, boss, I don't think we should do a rejoinder. You should see the reaction on his face. Are you serious? Are you for real? Do you know your job? Somebody does a story that is not correct about us and you say we shouldn't do a rejoinder. My position at the time was that I had experienced both worlds, and I understand how journalists, the thought process of journalists. And when you tend to do a lot of rejoinders, it creates a situation of you versus me. Oh, so you are saying I don't know my facts. And if there's somebody who is feeding them, you have no idea where they're getting their stories from, you'll be messed up. So my proposal was, let's reach out to the media house and engage them. It was a big media house in Ghana. At the time, #2 private newspaper, I think still #2 private newspaper in Ghana today. So we went to the offices of the Chronicle newspaper, myself, the commissioner, and one other deputy. We engaged them. We invited the journalist over. We opened up our books to him to see to present him with the facts of the story that he had done. And amazingly, he went back and did 3 different stories from our angle. We didn't pay any money to him. We didn't induce him, but people got to know the real story, the story behind the actual story itself. And for me, it was one of the groundbreaking things, because since then I've got lots of other opportunities to, do this. And one of the key findings of public relations is counseling organizational leaders. And therefore, if you do not know and understand what you have to do at each point in time, you go and create a mess of.
Let's just give him a few minutes to come back on. Okay, I think it's back on now.
Apologies about that. Today the network is not being friendly to me, but I have yes. So I mean, it wasn't easy and rosy, but we were able to go through because we're ready to learn. I was ready to learn. I was ready to learn myself, and that's what has carried me on throughout my 20-year journey in Thompson.
Oh, okay. That you've touched on something that, I mean, a lot of younger communications professionals have to deal with. And when you said that you spoke to your boss and you're saying do a rejoinder, and you have to be able to say this is the way to go, but then your boss or the stakeholders don't necessarily buy into that vision. Now, sometimes it's a risk because you could have done that media house run and it may not have gone well. So how do you balance that as a professional that wants to really rise to the peak of a career, balancing the stakeholders and taking risks and going out of the box to get the results that you want?
So one of the important things that you need to do at any point in time is to do your risk assessment as a PR person. If you conduct your risk audit very well and you understand the things that could likely impact on your practice, that could throw your plan out of gear, then you'll be able to understand the right approaches to use. I have said in some of my classes where I teach people in during certification programs that PR, one of the definitions of PR is as a deliberate, planned, and sustained effort. Yet PR is the most unplanned profession I've ever come across, because you get up, plan your week and your day activities, and one little thing happens and throws everything you've planned out of gear. So understanding the industry, understanding your environment, when you undertake your personal, your political, environmental, social, and then technological and legal framework and analysis, that gives you an understanding of the area. You are able to make decisions or offer advice to management that they would find suitable. Again, in a business environment, you've got to understand the business where you operate, so that your advice or counsel to management is not only situated within the context of communications or PR. And you need to understand the bigger impact on the organization, the bigger impact of the industry within which your organization is operating, the impact on society. And if you bring all of these areas into context or into play when you are engaging your organizational leaders, you understand the concepts that you are coming with, you understand the areas that you are talking about, and you are more likely to get acceptability. But in doing that, there's also the part of negotiation and advocacy, where you would need to sometimes lobby some other persons on management to appreciate your viewpoint and become advocates for you. Because we've said PR is a management function. In some organizations, PR is not at the management table. So if you are not there when the decisions are being made, how do you ensure that your voice is still heard without you being in the room? And that's where you need to create advocates for yourself. And therefore, you need to lobby. And so these are all skills and things that we have used, or I have applied within the last 20 years, that has helped me to be able to get to the top. So in this particular instance, the deputy commissioner who was part of the trip was somebody that I had engaged one-on-one and explained the concept and philosophy to him. And so when we had the meeting to plan on the way forward, he understood my viewpoint and supported me. And that's one thing you need. You need to be able to win the confidence of your superiors and colleagues. And therefore, the deputy commissioner, Potential, supported me, and we were able to pull that off and work successfully.
I like that. And what I get is being articulate about what you want to achieve. So it's not just saying, I have this idea. It's the research you've done, why, and then get their buy-in, and then get the support of the people that have the voice to be able to implement those things.
Absolutely.
Very important. Coming back to your journey. So you started off 20 years ago at the very bottom. Now you're the head of, marketing and corporate communications. And people will think, oh my God, such a great role with a great organization that is Pan-African. What were some of the deliberate steps you took to get to where you are today?
Learning. I mean, at each point in time, you've got to learn. So for me, one of the things I did was, and I will speak about that a little as we go along, is to ensure that one, you've got to be able to understand the cost practice in various fields, various industries, because communication is one and the same. Its application to various organizations and industries would differ based on the circumstances and the context of that organization. By doing this, you learn. One of the sad parts of my career has been that when I started off, I very much understood the role of mentors in this enterprise. And I went to senior colleagues at the time and begged to be mentored and to be given some steps outside my area. Sadly, I didn't get anybody to come up to mentor me. And that in itself pushed me to say that if I have got to be successful in this industry, then I've got to do a lot more. So a lot of online courses. Many people go on social media, and for them, it's an area to go and have fun, connect to people. But I do a lot of learning on social media as well. So LinkedIn as a platform where I take a lot of courses, Coursera. I pay to participate in some of these courses myself. But there are free learning platforms that are available that you can use. So for example, on Twitter, there's the PR Chat Africa session that happens every Thursday on Twitter. Practitioners from all across Africa get on to share ideas and it's a great learning platform. Things you would never get from the classroom are available. Again, there's the Elaminti Power and Influence, which is a UK-based organization that again also happens on Twitter and sometimes on LinkedIn, where practitioners from various backgrounds, various countries all over the world are connecting to share ideas. And therefore, I participated in some of these sessions to ensure that I would grow my knowledge in communications, and I've learned a lot of things from there. But the other important thing is to look at the power of networking within your own context. So there are a group of friends that we have. So there's a group that I am in that we call the PR Minds, where we bounce things off people. And these are young practitioners who I consider myself a very young person, young practitioner, who come together, we share ideas on various things. So there's a project I'm working on, I'm having some challenges. So a particular aspect where I'm not too clear about, I'll bounce it off one or two people, I'll put it up in the chat, and you get lots of inputs from other people, which you can now use based on where you are at, take the learnings from there and apply to your career. So yes, there are things to do, but the only thing I think that will help you to straddle the path of communication to the top is integrity. Integrity is so important that as you learn and get the knowledge from people and gather all of these things together, if you do not have integrity, you will miss the boat, you'll miss the point. Because, communication tends to open you up for so many things. It exposes you to so many areas. There are people who are trying to get you to do things that are not appropriate. Being able to decipher on the right things to do and applying them will help you. And therefore, you need to have a very high sense of integrity, because you, other than no one else, becomes the conscience of the organization. You are a spokesperson of the organization. You are the one people see when they talk about the organization. So when we talk about brand image and brand perception and all of that, a lot of it is represented in the people running the communications functions in the organization. So if people cannot trust you, they don't trust the organization, because as we've heard people who are not in communication say, oh, PR is about whitewashing, and oh, this guy is doing PR, because and they use it negatively. If your publics out there do not perceive you to have a high sense of integrity, such that when there's an issue and you speak to it, they would believe what you say, then you have missed the point. So integrity is so important in ensuring that you move up the ladder to the top. And that's one thing I like everybody. If you learned nothing from this session, that you need to have a very high sense of integrity, and it will take you places.
Wow, thank you for that. I think that's something that needs to be said over and over again, because you are your word and you are you. And even beyond your organization, it's the footprints that you're leaving. Integrity will help across board. Thank you very much. So I spoke to you earlier this morning and I said, one of the things that usually comes up is marketing and corporate communications. Should they be lumped together and they different functions? So can you talk us through how you're able to do the two together? And for people that find themselves managing both positions and they feel like, I can't do this, what tips?
So the thing is, as a PR person, through and through, I mean, I would say that, oh, you don't have to merge PR with any other department. PR has to stand on its own and do, the work the way we best know it. But you would understand that organizations differ, and organizational structure differ based on the environment. So I know, for example, organizations where the head of PR, it's for example, an engineer or an accountant. Yeah, I mean, based on how they're set up, I've seen structure of PR organizations where the PR is part of, so some corporate services, or and you see PR, legal, and some other departments put together. In other places is marketing and communications, or communications and marketing. My viewpoint is that when you have such a situation, be the best and right person to go and head the department. A lot of the time, many people we become very good technicians. We are good at what we do, but we do not prepare ourselves to get to the management table. And therefore, when we are put there, we struggle to align our thoughts with the CFOs and the HR people who have the longer professions, who've been at the table for long. So the table is, you just have about 5 seats on the table, and nobody's ready to create room for additional seats. And therefore, you must nudge somebody off the table to get to the table. Or when a situation arises where a space is created for you, you must justify the potential or the reason for being there. And therefore, your contributions are very important when you get to the management table. Now, combining marketing and corporate communication is very, very difficult, because marketing has very broad areas. You've got branding, you've got product communication, you've got promotions, there are lots of things to do in marketing. Same for corporate communication. So you've got events, external relations, or stakeholder engagement, you've got media relations, you've got management. So several angles to do. The only way you can excel, which I've spoken about earlier, is to be able to learn and apply, so to understand both worlds. But you need to also add some qualification aspects to it. So, for example, you can learn on the job and show that you have the skill set to be able to perform in that role, and where you have the opportunity and the means to take an additional qualification in some of these areas. So, as you would have seen from my profile, I did my first degree in communication studies. I actually wanted to do my second degree in communication studies as well at the University of Ghana. I tried twice, I didn't get admission for very strange reasons, but I was not protected by that. So I decided to take a degree in marketing. I think it was one of the best decisions I ever made regarding my career path and my growth. And so I did an MBA in marketing at the University of Ghana Business School, a topmost business school in Ghana. And so I got my MBA there. But beyond that, also done other courses, so that you are able to appreciate both worlds and come to it. I hope to, in the near future, before I go old, take a course in law. I've taken other courses and short things by on the side, which helps me such that, success, my definition of success is preparation waiting for opportunity. Success is preparation waiting for opportunity. So how prepared are you? What are the things you've put in place? How have you learned? How have you applied yourself to ensure that when the opportunity presents itself, that you'll be able to jump into it and become successful? So in UBA, where I work, for example, at our group office, because of the fact that we operate in 20 countries, you have marketing and corporate communications as separate functions. If you go to the subsidiary levels, they are merged as one department. And Ghana being a tier 1 country in UBA, where, is the biggest subsidiary outside of Nigeria for UBA. There's a lot of attention, a lot of focus here. And so for you to head such a critical function in the bank means that you need to, one, have the know-how and expertise to be able to do it. And therefore you balance out. So in my department, there are things that we do specifically for marketing, ensure that you are following all the steps and ticking the boxes off, and also being able to do your corporate code. It's not a very easy task, because if you don't take time, my biases have been in corporate communication for the last part of my career. So you may end up either leaving out the critical areas of marketing and not paying attention to them, which could be, disastrous for you. One of the things I do is to do a lot of planning. So what are the areas that I need to focus on? And in my weekly and daily plans, I make sure that in my to-do list, I always have the critical areas. So I do my to-do list looking at the critical things I need to achieve, the functional areas of things I need to do. And like I said, PR is planned but unplanned, because a lot of things come in. There are these ad hoc issues that come into the fray. If you tend to focus on the ad hoc that comes in all the time, you do those things very well, but you neglect your core function, your core duty, why you've been hired into the role. So in the preparation of my plan, I first consider why I'm here, why am I in this seat, what are the things I need to achieve, what are the things I need to do. And after I have considered those activities, I bring on the ad hoc things that may come out of maybe action items from management meetings or other ad hoc committee meetings. And then the fact that we have weekly engagements with all countries across the UBA function helps me to bring expertise from or knowledge from other jurisdictions, other subsidiaries into the field of what I do. So it's a difficult task, and you've got to be have very smart objectives to ensure that all the things you are doing are measurable and time bound, so you can deliver on the results.
Wow, lots of takeaways from that. This we're now going into challenges, because I know it hasn't been hunky-dory all through. One of the first things I'm going to ask, and before you deep dive into the other challenges you faced, is how do you manage? You said UBA is present in so many countries, different subsidiaries. How do you manage dealing with that? Different countries, different approaches, different voices, but still one organization. And then what other key challenges did you face or have you faced so far, and how did you overcome it?
So in UBA, we work as a team. So last week, by this time, there was a function happening. Global webinar like this was taking place in Senegal. I was in Accra, coordinating with my colleague, head of MCC in Senegal, to ensure that we have a very smooth, operation. So we collaborated very well. For me, one of the points I made when I was preparing for this, that for us as comms people, we've got to understand that competition has moved away from hostilities. Competition today has become collaboration and partnerships. So we're a bank. We don't fight other banks, because we are all one in the same industry, in the same business. The challenges that confront us are the same. So the earlier we come together to understand our industry, of course, I'm not going to share my strategy with you in terms of what I'm doing, how I'm going to, as it were, mobilize deposits or create credit facilities and all of that. But the things that confront us are the same. And therefore, we need to understand that the era where guerrilla tactics where you throw mud at your competitors to make them distract from their core function, and then you get the upper hand, is long gone. And we need to move into areas of collaboration. And therefore, understanding this factor helps us even internally, that if we go out as UBA, we must go with one voice. How do we get that one voice? We must collaborate and partner with each other to go together. So there are the teams, the people in the assurance roles of audit and internal control who would make sure that, are you following policy? Are you going by what the organization says you should do? But you also have the business side or the marketing teams that are pressurizing you to help them to communicate about products and services. We need to put all of these together to ensure that we understand business and business growth to push this. And therefore, that's one of the key things I would say in terms of how we network. Again, we create our learning session. So once a week for 2 hours, we put together we all come together, all MCC heads, or MCC's marketing and corporate communication heads across all the subsidiaries with our colleagues from the group. So what is Ghana doing that we can learn from? What are the challenges that is taking place in Sierra Leone? What is Liberia doing? And as we share thoughts on these things, we will be able to pick some ideas from what other subsidiaries are doing. We are able to share thoughts on, make inputs into what other people are doing, and we go together. So we are as strong as the strongest person or the weakest person on the team, if you understand me. So if we're able to help the weaker people to come up, it helps all of us to grow. So I worked on something yesterday, which I sent one of my colleagues to help me translate to French, because my French is very excellent, so I cannot translate, I cannot speak French. But the idea is what I'm doing would benefit all the countries in the West Africa region. We have 9 countries in the West Africa region. Some of them, so if you pick Benin Republic and Ivory Coast and Burkina, these are Francophone countries. So even though I am in Ghana working on the thing and will benefit the region, I'm getting somebody to help me translate into French, so that when I share with them, the Francophone countries can pick the information and also run with it. So we collaborate and support each other. I'm in Ghana and I focus on Ghana, but I also have an eye on the bigger picture of the group and the areas where we open.
Well, I think that sounds really good. I really like that emphasis on collaboration, even if you're not in the same region, but you're all working together for the same goal and for the same purpose. And I think that's really good. So are there any other challenges that you would like to share so far in your journey, 20 years, that you would like to share?
One of the things that most communications people face is allocation of resources. And when organizations go through when they are challenged with profits or things and they want to do budget cuts or cut down on expenses, one of the very first areas they look at is to cut communications budget. And I mean, it happens everywhere. So I'll run through based on my experiences in some organizations. So when I worked with Dominion University College, one of the biggest challenge for me there was allocation of resources. I was in Dominion for a very short stint, 9 months, and that was the main reason why I left, because and I could not bring to bear the innovative ideas and things we have. But that's what, they say innovation is a necessity of time. So I got into Dominion update. I was going to work with the immediate past, former Minister of Trade and Industry for Ghana, former Minister of Education, former ambassador to the US of Ghana, Dr. Ekospro Gabra. I was looking up to the opportunity. I got in there, and resources were not as I anticipated. So you have a lot of ideas, but for me, it was also the most fulfilling part of my career as well, because I had to innovate and turn the gloom to positive, because people may not understand what challenges we may go through. So there was literally no resources at the time. The situation is better today, but that was for me my growth or development into digital communications. So what can I do? The results are not available. What do I have to do? And therefore, I began to do a lot of digital communications, digital marketing, began to learn a lot how to get my messages out to the people that I needed to reach out and all that. So resource allocation is one of the biggest challenges of marketing. The other thing which I mentioned earlier in some respects is getting the buy-in of your colleagues at the management table. I worked in an organization, one of the public organizations, where maybe due to my agility and willingness to learn and to do things, get results and achieve things, probably was ahead of my colleagues, ahead of my contemporaries, ahead of my pack. So there are things to do, and your own colleagues within the department don't seem to understand and appreciate where you're coming from. So it's a big challenge to getting buy-in to the ideas and things you have, because you can have the best of idea. If nobody believes in your idea, it's as good as dead. And therefore, it's one of the big challenges that we face as communications people, getting people to buy in. Even though we are communicators ourselves, or we are supposed to be communicators, when it comes to communicating things that concerns us, sometimes we are unable to do that because, there's the part of the selfish you trying to achieve the results and also looking at the organizational interest in that position. And therefore, being able to go through a process of lobbying or creating advocates within, first of all, your own department, getting your own council to understand you, and creating other advocates outside of the department who now become front lines of the communications function. It's very important. So maybe I'll put these three as some of the challenges that we face as comms people, or I have come across, and how we have been able to overcome or deal with some of those challenges.
Okay. You said something that I would like you to elaborate on, because I smiled because I could relate. When you have something, you want to push an idea, we're communicators, but it seems like we don't know how to lobby or get the support. How do you build this skill for you? Have you always, because I think sometimes it's about confidence, but sometimes it's not just confidence. Sometimes you see maybe the management team and maybe they're senior professionals, and you're like, well, if this person says no, surely he must know better than me. How do you develop that skill to be able to lobby properly and communicate in such a way that they understand where you're going and where you're coming from?
Okay, so thanks. In my dictionary, I don't have the letters NO. It's not. I mean, I don't have no in my dictionary. I don't understand no. Okay, what is the reasoning behind your no? So if I can come on the same page with you and it makes sense to me, I'll accept that. But I go back and forth. So in my present job, my MD is very supportive of, comms. I mean, he's even bigger on branding than myself. I mean, because he wants perfection. But there are things I go to MD with, and MD will say, no, I don't approve of this. And I'll go back to him and say, okay, well, this is the reason why I want to do this. And I think that if you give me your support, we'll be able to achieve these results. This says no. Okay. I'll go back and brainstorm with my team. Guys, so we have this idea. We think it's a brilliant idea, but it's not getting the push, not getting the stability. What can we do? How do we tweak this information? Now, I said that one of the important things is always to situate a communications function within the larger context of the organization. So what are the relativities or departments that may benefit from this? What I will typically do would be, if it would benefit the marketing team, and also, okay, I go to my colleagues on the leadership table and say, okay, I think we should do this, but I'm not sure. Sometimes I go try to play to get information from them and go to source or get them to come out. So Peter, if we want to do this, how do you think this will impact on you, and what are the results we can achieve together? And get them to give you inputs, which I now come to improve the document with. I go to that point, and so at that point, you are kind of lobbying. They're getting their buy-in. They are creating them to become advocates for what you want to do, and therefore, I put all of that together and go back to MD, either individually or sometimes with some of the people, or I even raised that point at the management table. Depending on the situation, depending on the personalities, you would adopt a different approach. And therefore, it's something that we need to understand very clearly. And when I'm saying this, it's not to say that there's 200% support for what I do, but for specific activities where it's not clear to them what are the the clear ROIs on the things you want to do, especially when it involves cost or investment. We need to see the right return on investment. And therefore, you need to do that collaboration or, crowdsourcing of ideas to improve on what do you yourself have and represent. And a lot of the time, in fact, if I'm not exaggerating, all the time when I faced or been hit with such walls and I've gone to, get the inputs and put it together and go back, I have always gotten the results. At that point, it's okay. I agree with you now. Can you change this here? Amend this. Let's edit this part, and then we can get it done. So it's important for you to understand the context of your own organization first, to understand the industry and the impact of what communications impact on your industry. And then when you understand all of these, you are better positioned to be able to advocate for your projects, to advocate for your programs, to advocate for your campaigns, and get the necessary support and buy-in to ensure that you're able to drive them.
So what I'm hearing from you is that, so even for communications professionals, people skills, interpersonal skills, very important, and it goes beyond relating with journalists. It's how do you relate with management team, understanding their angle, where they're coming from, and then communicating based on that.
Absolutely, and even for it goes even beyond the management staff. See, as comms people, you are the eye and ear of the organization, and so you pick information from management and you share it with staff. So internal communicators come in here. But the bigger challenge for most communications people is how to pick information from staff and take it to management. And when you speak to staff, you must be seen to be representing management, representing them very well. Vice versa, when you are picking feedback from staff or your internal public and sharing with management, you've got to do it very well and be an advocate. Now, you become the devil in between, because when you speak to staff, they think that this guy is defending management. Would he even be a good advocate for the concerns that we have? Same way when you speak to your colleagues on the management table, why is this guy trying to, or this gentleman trying to push so much for maybe staff welfare issues when there's HR, or speaking about staff issues when he's supposed to be the one relating information from management to staff? You've got to be able to balance that information very well. So it's not only really at the management table, but even getting to know what is happening on the ground, getting right to the drivers, to security, to the people on the foot of the ladder, because that's where you have a lot of rumor and things going if you don't engage them well. See, many people think that internal communication, once you do email or internal communications email, it's fine to get to the people. But your drivers are not on the emails. They're not checking their emails. The security guys who are minding their posts are not checking the emails. Yet you need to create a platform or an avenue to be able to share information with them and pick feedback from them as well. And so it's critical and important for you to have great interpersonal skills such that you're able to pick from all sides, the top, the middle. So, I mean, one of the things that I always tell my people is that in management, there are 3 legs that you need to go to manage. You need to manage up and managing your bosses, manage laterally where you are talking about your peers and all, and also manage down where you're looking at the people below the foot and bringing all together to influence your communication strategies and how you're going to drive the organization.
Wow, thank you for this. You're allowing us to think broadly and even more strategically. I think that's really, really critical. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat section. We'll round up in a bit, but I will take questions. So please type them. Henry, so looking at this 20-year journey, if you could do it over again, would you do anything differently? What would you change? What would you adapt?
Very difficult question. But we learn as we progress. And if you're for me, one of the things I say is, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to commit errors. But if you do not learn from those mistakes, then you are not growing. Therefore, continuous learning is something that is super important. I've done 20 years, I still participate in continuous development programs. I've mentioned some of the platforms or channels that I participate in on social media that helps me to improve. And therefore, I would not announce the importance of networking and learning from other people, because a lot of the things that we do may not be taught in a classroom. So I've got like the example I gave on the rejoinder with my boss. That's what in school, somebody published a story about who is not correct. Do a rejoinder. But in practice, based on my understanding of how the things work, both worlds, having experienced both worlds, I am better able to put in place a strategy that helps me to deal with reportage and not become confrontational or, as it were, argumentative with the journalist or the person who's done the story. So you've got to understand that continuous learning will help you to improve on the things you do. That's the first one. The second thing, and even though I didn't get mentors, would be to advise everybody who's starting up or say that I would go an extra mile or try this time if I'm starting all over again to make sure that I have some mentors that are going to guide and shape me and help me to grow in the communications function. The other important thing I think I need to mention here is to look at the power of networking through the professional body. So NIPR in Nigeria, are we members of NIPR or IPR in Ghana or the South Africa Public Relations Association in South Africa or Kenya or wherever you are located? Because being a part of the professional body helps to also shape your career. It puts help to reshape you and put you on the right path. So being a part of the professional body helps because it puts such a huge responsibility on you to be professional in what you do. And therefore, I'll say that being a part of the professional body is also an important step to take.
Thank you very much. So while we wait for questions, there's somebody asking, I remember you mentioned a platform on Twitter, and if you can just maybe type the name of the two platforms you had mentioned where they have weekly chat.
Okay, so I'll put it up right now in the chat. Power and Influence on Twitter, and we also have PR Chat. There are a couple of others, and there's a marketing forum. There are others, and watch out for more details on the Comms Avenue page on LinkedIn. We'll be sharing a lot more insights on this, and therefore the conversation is not ending here. We'll share some insights, and then the Comms Avenue team will put some of those updates on the LinkedIn page. So follow the page, make sure you check them out, and then we can get more information as well on some of the other things that we can do to help our growth as communications people.
That's going to be my next question to you, because one of really want to achieve is professionals across Africa coming together, let's talk, let's learn. And we've been able to see over the last 1 year the benefit of that, but I still feel like we can do more. So what more can we do to encourage that cross-continental collaboration?
I mean, so again, the professional bodies are critical to this. So you would Comms Avenue is doing a great job. I mean, providing us this platform to learn. But I'm sure in our respective countries we'll have our professional bodies. But I also know, or we would know, that there's the Association of Public Relations Associations, Association of Public Relations, APRA, which brings together individuals and organizations or professional bodies, as it were, where we offer learning platforms. This helps also network us. So I sit in Ghana here. I've got practitioners or colleagues who I engage with on a regular basis from Kenya, from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Uganda, Liberia, Gambia, and we share thoughts on things happening. So the Comms Avenue platform is definitely one great opportunity to do that, because it's leveraging on technology and its platform to draw practitioners from different countries, different cultures, different areas, so we can learn and share. I mean, one of the things I've realized in some of those engagements is that the way, for example, we undertake media relations in Ghana differs significantly from what happens in Kenya. Now, being able to understand the Kenyan example and Kenyan experience will help me to reshape and to take the lead in this role in Ghana, so that I'll become a leader. I'll become innovative in the way I'm taking my media relations. So it's super important that we're able to leverage. And guys, for those of us on this webinar today that are not members of professional bodies, I'll say there will be one step to get your foot in. But beyond that, let's leverage for now on the power of technology and association. So Comes Avenue is one great platform. Let's look out for that. Let's join the other learning platforms. Now, COVID brought us a lot of challenges, but in those challenges, we have become innovative and found other opportunities to do things. I'm not sure that would be a problem. I'm having this because we would have been thinking of flying Henry into Nigeria, setting up a panel and or auditorium for him to speak to people. But the good thing about what we're having now is even beyond the number of people who are on this webinar right now, the program is being recorded. I'm sure we'll share snippets and tidbits on our channel. So we tend to extend the conversations beyond the reach. And with the power of technology, we are not limited in the things that we can do. So my recommendation to all of us here is let's draw the connections very strongly, and we will be able to. So learning from me, if you are in Nigeria and you have me, you shouldn't just end with Henry from Ghana. There's Paul on this platform right now. There are other people who are there, but can I also help you to or introduce you to other people in Ghana within your industry? So currently I'm in banking. You probably may be in FMCG and you want to learn about PR and FMCG or something in Ghana and that country. Because I'm here and I know people and how organizations that within which they operate, I can connect you with somebody within your industry to help you to, do something. And same for me, I should be able to connect with other people on this platform and learn from people in banking in other jurisdictions beyond what I already know, and will help us to grow.
I love that. So you have a compliment and a question. So Joseph is saying, first of all, compliments to how young you look. For amassing 20 years of experience, I will come for some tips on how to look young. So I'm sure he's going to connect with you after. And then the question, can you please tell your story on how you got to break through with your first job, how you identified an opportunity that catapulted your career?
So for me, truthfully, my first job wasn't really a challenge. So I said it was a result of government posting for national service. I got in there, excelled. Interestingly, so there were 100 of us that were posted to VAT to do a national service for that year. Now, at the end of the national service, a group of my colleagues wrote a petition to management to say that we think we've done well, so you should hire us. And they didn't consult us. So there were 4 of us that were not consulted in that letter that was done. So our names were not on the list. So when the letter went, management didn't take too kindly and asked all national service would. But fast forward to that which was an easy move. I am very ambitious, and therefore I try to look for opportunities available. And it has not been easy. When I was moving from VAT or the Ghana Revenue Authority, my next job, after I had applied, I met the CEO of the organization at a function, and I mentioned, "Oh, very pleasant to meet you, ma'am. I applied for this role." I said, "Okay, we are looking for older people, mature people to do their thing, and so don't worry, you don't have to." So I had already put my application. So I was broken, but I thought that this was a perfect fit for me to go into the organization. But I was shortlisted based on my CV, and I went for the interview. And at the end of the interview, I got hired, and the CEO tells me that, I was well apart with in terms of performance between me and the people who were most senior and have more matured and all those things. And for me, it's all about how well you apply yourself. And it was groundbreaking for me. In the next 2 years, which really set me off from having done battles where you went in, in a stroll or, very easy, had moved on to become more competitive. And all the switches I've done, most of the time, almost all of them, I see the opportunity online. I see the thing, I drop my CV in, and then I apply myself. And one of the things I do in addition to this is I learn about the organization and the industry even before I get in. So I want to go into Metropolitan. I go and learn about insurance and about pensions management even before I get in. So when you get in, it's not just preparing for the interview session, but you understand it improves your own knowledge of the organization in the industry, such that you are able to apply your knowledge into other areas. So yeah, we can share on specifics in terms of what strategies to do in terms of when you are job hunting or putting yourself out on the market, or you want specific industries and things. But the specifics to do about them, because I've gotten experience in several sectors and industries, I can share on that. But since that will not permit us to go into all the details, I would pause here for now, and then yeah, as we have the opportunity, we can share a bit more.
Well, thank you for that. I like that, because sometimes you feel like you're out of the game and then you just still go for that. So imagine you didn't submit your CV. So that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have a question from Paul. So it says, I have a training in comms and marketing, but not directly working with it. I want a career change to comms and marketing. So where do I start from?
So the first thing is that most people would look out for experience, and you may not have the experience because you are not working in there. A good thing to do is to do some volunteering work here and there. It pays. I've done a lot of volunteering work. I've done lots of consultancies for people I haven't charged for. And all of these things open up opportunities because people can recommend you to say, okay, I know this guy can do this job because he did that and that for me. So, Paul, my advice to you would be that let's identify some areas where you can put your skills to bear. It may be an NGO, it may be a football club, a singing group in church, something, but put your skills to use in one form or the other. Apply yourself so that when you get an opportunity, I said success is preparation waiting for an opportunity. The time where you are volunteering or applying yourselves in in areas where you are not directly being paid for would help you to build the requisite skills beyond academic knowledge, so that when you are offered the opportunity, your preparation or the things you've put in place to prepare you would help you to succeed or excel in that role. So there are several opportunities available, lots of people looking for areas for people like you to volunteer for them, and you will be able to do that to help you grow your career in communications and marketing.
Thank you for that. So I'm just going to take one more question, be mindful of time. Daniel is asking, what is the best way or practice to get and find a role model or mentor who will help and guide you to rise professionally in your career? Before you answer, I'm going to say we do have a mentoring program, which we launched last year. We did 2 batches of it, and it was really good. So you can watch out for announcements when the next batch will, and we have mentees and mentors from literally all over the world. So Henry,
yeah, so that's so thanks for that, because I was going to mention the mentoring program of the TCA. That's one platform to use. Also look at your professional body. I've mentioned that I cannot overemphasize on that. I started off as Deputy Honorary Secretary. I became Honorary Secretary, and today I'm Vice President of the Institute of Public Relations Ghana. There are lots of colleagues and practitioners in IPR Ghana that you can leverage from. So that's one area to look out for. Just like the TCA does, apart from their mentoring program, on LinkedIn, you can also spot people who you'd want to, and you can reach out to them and see if they are open or they have the time available to be able to take on mentors. You need to also, and mentoring is not only by very fast senior people. You can also, there's something we call peer mentoring, where between you and another colleague, could be schoolmates, it can be 1 or 2 years your senior, or sometimes even a junior. But the peer mentoring things helps you to identify common challenges that you are both going through, what I may have done that may have worked for me, what we can do together, and we try them out and we grow together. And therefore, as we grow together, we create expertise amongst ourselves. So mentoring comes in different forms in different areas, but I mean, depending on your situation, again, we can talk, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, reach out to the TCA. We can help you and guide you and ensure that we direct you to the right area so you can identify mentors or some other opportunities.
Yeah, and I've learned so much from peer mentoring. People forget that learning from your peers is a thing and being mentored
Yeah.
by them. So I definitely agree with that. So my wrap-up question, which ties into what Kenneth is asking, is what is your final advice for young communications professional? And I'm going to add what Kenneth has written. How well can they position themselves for success in the industry?
I'll give you 5 things. 5 things. First of all, serve and be willing to learn. When you go into communications, don't go with your previous knowledge of what you've learned in school. But the book said this. I learned this definition of PR. What you're doing doesn't apply. There are different things that help, that shape the way we practice communication. And you would see that even between two organizations, there'll be slight differences. So willing to serve and to learn. I harnessed my writing skills from under Mampa. I went on to do other things, to serve and willing to learn. The second point I'll say is continuous development, where you are undertaking continuous development programs, and this because it will help you to learn. I know in organizations, there are people who are in large organizations, you have somebody who's been given a certain function. So for example, you're on the media relations desk, and you have very little to do when it comes to events, or when you are doing external relations, for example. But your ability to take courses in those areas helps you to create other opportunities, such that when you are moving on to another organization, and you're not only going to do media, but going to look at a 360 picture of the department, you are able to apply yourself. The third thing I'll say is join a professional body if you are not a member of a professional body already, because it will also help you to build network. It will help you to improve on your base, and you can go from that as well. The fourth thing I'll say is get certified. If you have a professional body that is registered in your country, get in there, or whoever is offering certification. So I know NIPR does certification in Nigeria. I know IPR Ghana does certification in Ghana. I know uh, uh, South Africa Public Relations Association does certification in South Africa, and Kenya as well. So these organizations will help you to certify. And once you are certified, it gives you a higher bargaining chip, a higher opportunity to go into higher roles in other organizations. The final thing I will put on here is other learning platforms available on digital channels, because like I said, I mean, they are free, they are open and available, and you will connect with people across the world that can help you to harness your career, like we are doing today on TCE. So apply yourself, and let's learn, and the sky would be the beginning of the things we can do.
Thank you so much, Henry, for your time. This has been a crash course in learning, and thank you for sharing your personal experiences, your journey. And I would advise anyone that wants to connect with Henry on LinkedIn. Are you on any other platform where people can connect with you?
Yes, so I'm on Twitter as at Dadani, Dada_Nii, DADA_NII on Twitter. I'm on Instagram as Dottey Watson, and Facebook as Dadani as well. So Facebook, Twitter, Dadani, LinkedIn, my name Henry Nii Dottey. Connect with me, let's chat up. Connect with the TCA, follow the channel, and let's learn more. We can share. Ogidi, I've seen your question, specific licenses. We can carry this conversation on offline. Yes, but there are licenses that are applicable per country or in countries, but you have the global ones like the CIPR programs. You have the APRA, which is the American Public Relations Association program as well. So there are others that are global that you can subscribe to. There are country-specific ones that you can also subscribe to, and then yes, you can get your comms practice off the ground.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. So for those, most of you know, our next webinar is on Sunday 11th, and we're going to be speaking to the head of corporate brand at Lafarge Africa. And then we also have a webinar with Marilyn Moodley, which is the global head of communications at Cross Boundary. She's based in South Africa. She's going to be talking about confidence. And I think that that's so important for everybody. So don't forget to sign up and connect with us on those 2 days. Thank you so much, Henry, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, and it's my pleasure being here. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining up in this webinar today. And like I said, please let the conversation not end here. Let's continue to connect on social. And I'm telling you, watch out for the TCA page on LinkedIn. More updates coming up. So just be on the lookout.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.